The tranquility Hoai Ca and Hung had finally found was fleeting. Just as peace seemed to settle after endless trials, a fresh calamity descended upon their village, shattering the calm and ensnaring Hung in an unforeseen predicament. Through the gathering storm, Hoai Ca, ever resilient, remained a pillar of strength, her unwavering presence a quiet comfort beside him. Their path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty. Only time would tell if their bond and enduring hope could navigate this new tempest. That morning, an unusual clamor permeated the air. The normally serene village awoke to a chorus of agitated voices, each word carrying the weight of disruption. The damp earth, still fragrant from the night's rain, mingled with the faint, sweet scent of erica blossoms and the sharp tang of wood smoke, creating an atmosphere thick with unease. Hung knelt, his gaze fixed on the violated wooden chest. Splinters littered the floor around the forced-open lid, but his attention was drawn to a single, vibrant red thread caught stubbornly near the lock mechanism. He carefully plucked it free, turning the bright filament between his fingers, a deep furrow appearing on his brow. Such a distinct piece of evidence could not be coincidental. His low, authoritative voice cut through the murmuring crowd. "Did anyone notice anything out of place last night?" An elder from the community stepped forward. "Around midnight, I spotted a motorcycle parked near the lane's end. Two figures dismounted, but the darkness concealed their faces." A young woman chimed in, "Just as dawn was breaking, I saw someone in a red jacket hastily departing. Their hair was still wet, as if they'd just come in from the rain." Hoai Ca stood silently in the corner of the small yard, her eyes red-rimmed and swollen. She clasped Mother Ha's trembling hand tightly. "Don't despair, Mother," she murmured, her voice a soothing balm. "With Hung here, we will uncover the truth." Mother Ha's tear-filled eyes lifted, her voice thick with sorrow. "The money my son sent for house repairs, it's all gone. And the keepsakes, precious mementos of his father, vanished too." Hung meticulously surveyed the interior of the humble dwelling. No signs of ransacking, no overturned furniture, only the chest had been disturbed. Its selective emptiness suggested a deliberate act, not a chaotic smash and grab. Stepping into the yard, he traced the clear indentations left in the soft, wet soil, two distinct sets of footprints, one larger, one smaller, accompanied by the unmistakable tread of a motorbike tire. He used a stick to outline each mark, etching their precise positions into his memory, already assembling the disparate pieces of a complex puzzle. As he turned, a detail caught his eye, a crumpled, damp flyer for a nearby roadside inn, carelessly tucked into the rear window frame. A vivid red lipstick smudge marred its surface. Hung's jaw tightened as he picked it up. This wasn't solely the work of men, he realized. He swiftly dispatched a few villagers. "Uncle Two," he called, addressing the venerable shopkeeper, "check the local inns for any unfamiliar guests who checked in last night." He then turned to Tien, the local motorbike driver. "Mr. Tien, scour the riverside road for any unusual tire tracks." To the assembled villagers, he urged, "Keep an eye out for anyone in a red jacket or riding a wave motorbike with matching decals. Report any sightings immediately." The group nodded, dispersing with a renewed sense of purpose. Hoai Ca, meanwhile, began documenting the stolen items, meticulously noting every detail, however small. Her hand faltered as she reached the entry for the old silver ring, a cherished heirloom, Mother Ha had once explained, the last tangible link to her late father. A cold dread settled over Hoai Ca. This was more than a simple robbery, it was a violation deeply personal. Hung paused at the gate, his gaze dropping to the muddy path. The deep, familiar imprint of a motorbike tire was still visible. He knelt, capturing the image with his phone, then shielded his eyes against the morning sun filtering through the erica fronds, his mind already racing towards the next clue. The faint glow of dawn ignited a spark of recognition in Hung. This wasn't the work of a stranger. The crimson thread, a key piece of the puzzle, slipped from his grasp, dancing on the breeze before settling back onto the damp earth. Hung's eyes sharpened, a growing certainty solidifying in his mind. The disparate clues began to coalesce, forging a distinct trail he knew, if followed, would unveil an unexpected and profound truth. That morning, a shroud of mist still clung to the village. The familiar calls of roosters were overshadowed by the urgent footfalls of residents hurrying towards the lane's end. Though no words were exchanged, an unspoken tension hung heavy, signaling that the village's quiet peace had been shattered. From a distance, Hoai Ca observed Mother Ha, a figure of profound grief, sitting blankly by her doorway. Her old headscarf drooped, barely concealing her red, swollen eyes. "My home, everything's gone, dear children." Mother Ha choked out, her voice barely a whisper, as Hoai Ca and Hung drew near. The small dwelling, usually a model of order, now bore the marks of a violent disruption. The wooden chest in the corner lay violently forced open, its lock snapped clean and discarded on the cold floor. Papers and clothes were scattered, evidence of a frantic, targeted search during the night. Hoai Ca stood frozen, a wave of shock washing over her. Hung knelt by the shattered chest, his fingers tracing the surprisingly clean break in the wood. No clumsy hand, he mused, a chilling realization dawning. Whoever did this was precise, knew exactly what they were after. Mother Ha's voice trembled as she recounted the night's events. "I heard the dog barking, but I thought it was just a cat. This morning, the money my son sent home, and his father's precious keepsakes, all vanished." Her voice faltered, her hands clenching into white-knuckled fists against her lap. Hung, silent and contemplative, began to pace the room. Faint traces of fresh mud still marked the floor. His gaze landed on the window, its wooden frame left subtly ajar, a likely entry point. The fact that only the chest had been disturbed, while everything else remained untouched, was a glaring anomaly. "Odd," he muttered under his breath, "if it was just for money, why not search anywhere else?" Beside him, Hoai Ca's heart ached. She knew Mother Ha, a simple, kind soul, incapable of malice. The thought of such a person enduring this cruelty was unbearable. Outside, a growing crowd of villagers exchanged hushed whispers. Some spoke of fleeting motorbike headlights in the dead of night, others recalled footsteps, dismissed at the time as children at play. Their fragmented accounts intertwined, creating a confusing tapestry of uncertainty. Hung stood motionless, his eyes fixed on the muddy road that wound towards the fields. A profound sense of unease permeated the air. His instinct screamed that this was no random act, it felt like a calculated probe, perhaps even a deliberate attempt to sow discord within the village. Hoai Ca bent to retrieve a scarf that had fallen to the floor. Along its edge, a dark, oily stain caught her attention, undeniably grease from a motorbike. She looked at Hung, her voice barely audible. "Look, they must have been on a bike. And very recently." Hung offered a slight, thoughtful nod. His eyes drifted to Mother Ha, a small, trembling figure on the doorstep, her frail shoulders quivering in the morning breeze. A powerful surge of both pity and unwavering resolve coursed through him. He knew, with absolute certainty, that this case had to be solved. It was more than just his duty as an officer, it was a deeply personal commitment, forged by the enduring kindness of Mother Ha and the unbreakable bond she shared with Hoai Ca. As the sun ascended, soft golden light filtered through the towering erica palms, glinting off the muddy footprints scattered across the yard. Hung squinted towards the far end of the village road, where the path met the shimmering riverbank. A potent suspicion flickered in his mind, but he kept it to himself. The time for revelation had not yet arrived. The afternoon hours drifted by, slow and contemplative. Fading sunlight slanted through the areca palms, casting shifting patterns of gold across Mother Hoai's yard. The gentle rustle of leaves carried the persistent, earthy scent of the night's rain. Gradually, the villagers dispersed, leaving only Hung and Hoai Ca in the quiet, unfolding drama. Hoai Ca and Mother Hoai remained, subdued, on the humble porch. Hung, his voice a gentle balm, broke the silence. I need to comb the yard once more. Perhaps some elusive detail still hides. The elderly woman, her voice raspy with grief, offered a tremulous nod. Search, my son, bring justice for this cruel act. Armed with a flashlight, he meticulously traversed the yard's perimeter. Beside the third areca palm from the gate, the earth appeared freshly disturbed, a patch of nascent grass uprooted from the loosened soil. He knelt, probing the spot with a bamboo stick, then cautiously scraped away the surface with his hand. Beneath, partially submerged in the mud, lay a ragged piece of cloth adorned with a faint, faded yellow pattern. He cleansed it with rainwater from a nearby jar, studying its design under the dim beam. Hoai Ca approached, her eyes widening in instant recognition. This fabric. I know it. That distinctive pattern, it's only used for the staff uniforms at Aunt Hannah's shop. Hung offered no immediate reply, his expression tightening almost imperceptibly. He carefully folded the incriminating scrap and tucked it into his pocket. I will speak with her, he murmured, his voice low. The late afternoon sky had dulled to a weary gray. A hollow clatter reverberated as the wind buffeted the weathered wooden door of the village general store. Hung pushed it open, a polite, almost affable smile gracing his lips. Aunt Han, I'm in need of a bottle of cooking oil and a few packets of instant noodles, if you please. Her gaze, initially startled, quickly settled on him. Hung? My, it's been too long. You're with the district office now, aren't you? Just back for a short visit. Heard things have been quiet here, not much excitement, he responded with a deceptive air of casual inquiry. Aunt Hannah's smile seemed strained, an undercurrent of unease rippling beneath. Her hands moved swiftly, bagging his purchases, but Hung observed the subtle tremble in her fingers. Indeed, quiet as ever, nothing out of the ordinary, she replied, her voice taut. Hung's eyes subtly shifted to her wrist, a thin, crimson scratch marred her skin, still flecked with vestiges of damp earth. It looked sharp, almost like a wire cut. Did you injure yourself? That looks rather fresh, he inquired gently, his tone calm yet his eyes piercing. Oh, that? Just a silly mishap, she demurred quickly, averting his gaze. Caught it on a nail while moving a sack this morning. Hung simply nodded, choosing not to press further. He paid, offered his thanks, and stepped out into the encroaching dusk. The village road ahead was steeped in a pale violet light. Behind him, the shop door clicked shut, a soft sound that nonetheless echoed with a chilling finality in the still air. He paused a few steps away. The evening breeze, as if complicit, lifted the edge of Aunt Hannah's blouse as she stood framed in the doorway, revealing a flash of pale yellow fabric, its pattern an exact match for the torn piece clutched in his pocket. A deep furrow formed in his brow, his hand instinctively tightening around the cloth. A heavy, unsettling premonition settled in his chest. Night descended, slow and inexorable. The lone streetlight at the lane's end flickered on, casting a feeble glow across Hung's face. He turned back towards the little shop, his eyes fathomless, shielding a truth he was not yet ready to speak aloud. Later, under the cloak of deep night, the rain began its descent. The first drops drummed against tin roofs with a multitude of tiny, cold, hollow taps. A gust of wind swept from the fields, carrying the heavy scent of mud and saturated earth. The village lay steeped in darkness, only a handful of distant, blurred yellow lights piercing the curtain of rain. Hung remained awake, restless. He donned his raincoat, retrieved his flashlight, and quietly made his way down the familiar path toward Mother Ha's house. The theft's chilling echoes had robbed Hung of slumber. A gnawing discord, a phantom thread connecting disparate facts, compelled him back to Mother Ha's rain-soaked abode. The night held a profound silence, broken only by the incessant drumming of rain on rooftops and the soft rustle of leaves along the muddy path. Hung positioned himself behind a neem tree near the gate, his flashlight extinguished, his figure swallowed by the rain and shadows. Lightning flashed intermittently, briefly illuminating his face, revealing an expression etched with grim determination. Hung stood sentinel, a silent, unmoving presence in the relentless downpour. His gaze remained fixed on Mother Ha's humble porch, where the desecrated wooden chest now lay hidden beneath a simple, worn fabric, a stark reminder of the recent violation. Minutes stretched into an eternity as the relentless tick of his pocket watch announced the approach of midnight. The wind howled, whipping sheets of rain that lashed his skin, each drop a sharp, chilling sting. Then, a spectral form materialized from the deluge, a dark silhouette against the indistinct, rain-blurred landscape. It was a slender, hooded figure, draped in a dark raincoat, moving with an almost unnatural stealth. Upon reaching the threshold, the intruder hesitated, not entering the dwelling, but carefully depositing a small fabric pouch next to the stone step. With the task complete, they pivoted, preparing a hasty retreat into the storm. "Halt!" Hung's command, sharp and resonant, pierced the din of the rain, echoing with undeniable authority. The fleeing individual instantly rigidified, caught in the sudden, unexpected glare, like a deer frozen by a sudden flash. With a swift, decisive movement, Hung closed the distance, his hand clamping firmly onto the person's shoulder, pulling them into the harsh beam of his flashlight. The powerful light illuminated a young, ashen face, contorted with terror. It was Tin, Aunt Hannah's son, whose wide, fearful eyes met Hung's unblinking gaze. Tin remained paralyzed, his lips quivering uncontrollably, his eyes dilated with a primal dread. The small pouch, now forgotten, slipped from his numb fingers, tumbling onto the soaked earth. Its contents spilled forth, sodden wads of currency and a scattering of antique gold pieces, their luster dulled by time and dampness, the very heirlooms and savings stolen from Mother Ha. Hung's intense stare bore into the boy. His voice, stripped of all warmth, dropped to a chilling rumble. "Speak, Tin. What business brings you here, in the dead of night?" Tin's head bowed, his slender shoulders convulsing as the relentless rain mingled with his nascent tears. I can't keep it secret any longer," he choked out, his voice barely a whisper against the storm. "They made me do it, Uncle Hung." Hung's eyes narrowed to slits, the flashlight beam carving stark, unforgiving lines across his resolute features. "Who are they?" he pressed, his tone unyielding. Tin gnawed his lip, a moment of profound internal struggle passing before the words burst forth in a torrent, as if he feared his fragile resolve would shatter. "It was Bay," he confessed hastily, "the construction worker from the Riverside site. He came to Mother's shop that day, drunk, claiming he needed a favor. He instructed me to help him gain entry to Mother Ha's house, insisting he only needed to retrieve some documents for an acquaintance. He even offered a sum of several 100,000 dong. I was foolish enough to trust him." His gaze, red-rimmed and puffy, finally lifted to meet Hung's. "I had no idea he intended to force open the chest and take everything. The moment I saw him flee with the bag, pure panic seized me. I kept silent, unable to confess to anyone, and the guilt stole my sleep for many nights. Even when Mother inquired, I remained mute. But tonight, I simply couldn't bear the burden any longer. I came to put things right, to return what was taken." Hung observed the shivering boy, a knot of conflicting emotions tightening in his chest. Tin, so young and with an inherently earnest face, now bore the unmistakable weight of genuine guilt and profound remorse in his terrified eyes. As the flashlight beam illuminated Tin's hands, Hung noticed several long, raw scratches, fresh wounds, likely sustained from hastily burying the pouch in the damp earth before his attempted restitution. The wooden door groaned softly, drawing their attention. From within the dark dwelling, the faint glow of an oil lamp sputtered into existence, casting a hesitant, golden light across the rain-slicked yard. Mother Ha emerged, trembling visibly, her frail hands gripping the lamp like a lifeline. Her eyes fell upon the scattered contents of the pouch, and she froze, a choked gasp escaping her lips. Merciful heavens, these are mine, the money, the jewelry, it's all here, unharmed. Hung moved swiftly, gathering the valuables and the fabric pouch, then gently presented them to Mother Ha. Your belongings have been recovered, Mother Ha, he stated, his voice a steady reassurance. Please, confirm they are all accounted for. With trembling fingers, she accepted the pouch and peered inside. Tears streamed freely down her weathered cheeks. Yes, everything, it's all here, thank you, my son, thank you, she whispered, her voice thick with gratitude and profound relief. Hung then turned his attention back to Tin, his tone firm yet devoid of anger. You made a grave error, Tin, but the path to redemption is still open. Tomorrow, you will accompany me to the commune office and disclose every detail. Rest assured, I will personally ensure Bay faces justice. But understand this, there will be no more secrets, no more evasions from this moment forward. Tin's head dropped again, his voice raw with emotion. Yes, sir. I admit my wrong. I didn't want anyone to cast suspicion on my mother. She truly had no knowledge of any of this, please, you must believe me. Hung met his pleading gaze, a subtle softening in his stern demeanor. I do believe you, Tin. However, for others to share that belief, your honesty must be absolute and unwavering. The wind renewed its assault, carrying a biting cold that seeped into their bones. The rain now drove horizontally, drenching all three figures standing in the desolate yard. Tin, a small, hunched silhouette, slowly receded into the impenetrable curtain of the storm, his head bowed in shame as he disappeared from view. Hung remained, a solitary, unmoving figure under the relentless onslaught of the tempest. He finally lifted his gaze towards the turbulent sky, his breath ghosting into the misty air, heavy with unspoken thoughts. Unanswered questions began to coalesce in his mind, sharp and insistent. Hung's mind churned, the answers from Tin's tearful confession still incomplete. A deeper current tugged at his thoughts. How precisely had Bay, a transient worker, come to know of Mother Ha's recent financial blessing? Was it truly just idle rumor, or had a more insidious whisper guided him? The suspicion of a hidden architect, a shadow puppeteer, gnawed at him. Lightning briefly fractured the darkness, casting Hung's profile in sharp relief, a visage of unyielding purpose, cold as the river under a winter moon. He felt it with certainty, the true narrative of this night had yet to fully unfold. Beneath the calming balm of the rain, a nascent evil still festered, an unseen threat to the village's fragile peace. He had to unearth it, no matter the cost, before its roots could deepen. The village awoke to a pale, misty dawn, the scent of damp earth heavy in the air. The familiar quiet was shattered by the distinct roar of police motorbikes, their presence a stark declaration of impending justice as they sped towards the riverside construction site. Hung, a picture of calm determination amidst the whirlwind of activity, led the detail. They found Bay hunched over a meager fire outside the worker's shack, attempting to warm himself. At the sight of the approaching officers, a primal fear ignited in his eyes, and he scrambled to escape. But Hung was swifter, his movements precise. With a decisive lunge, he brought Bay crashing to the mud-slicked ground. The sharp, metallic click of handcuffs echoed, a stark pronouncement in the nascent morning. As Hung rose, his trousers were splattered with the evidence of the night's rain, now clinging to the earth as thick, clinging mud. Hours later, within the austere walls of the commune office, Bay's veneer of defiance crumbled. His head bowed in defeat, he began to unravel his sordid tale. He'd overheard loose chatter at a local tea stall, fragments of conversation detailing the generous sum Mother Ha's son had recently sent home. The seed of avarice, once planted, rapidly took root. He sought out Tin, Aunt Hannah's young son, weaving a deceitful narrative about merely needing to collect some important papers from a relative's house, sweetening the proposition with a tempting offer of several 100,000 dong. The unsuspecting Tin, trusting and naive, provided the key. The instant the door yielded, Bay slipped inside, his true intentions laid bare as he savagely forced open the wooden chest, seizing every banknote and antique gold piece before melting back into the shadows of the rainy night. Hung listened in silence, his gaze unwavering, fixed on Bay. There was no fiery indignation in his eyes, only a profound, almost melancholic stillness. His quiet observation held a sorrowful quality, a deep disappointment that such a paltry sum could corrupt a man, stripping him of his humanity and driving him to such a base act. The magnitude of human folly, fueled by fleeting greed, settled heavily upon him. By afternoon, the tidings of Bay's capture had swept through the village like a cleansing wind. A collective sigh of relief rippled through every household, dispelling the lingering pall of anxiety that had overshadowed their days. Neighbors, their faces alight with renewed cheer, flocked to Mother Ha's modest home, laden with offerings of sweet cakes, fresh fruit, and comforting words, their presence a testament to the community's restored spirit. On her porch, Mother Ha's eyes, though still betraying traces of past tears, now curved into a soft, grateful smile. She clasped LyTuDiep's hand, her frail voice imbued with deep emotion. Without Hung's tireless efforts, she murmured, everything I cherished would have been lost forever. He truly is a beacon, my dear. Goodness still shines brightly in this world. LyTuDiep gently returned Mother Ha's squeeze, her gaze then drawn to Hung, who was wiping the last traces of mud and sweat from his face. Despite his weary appearance, his eyes held an unshakable, quiet strength. A tender current of emotion surged through LyTuDiep, a blend of deep affection and profound admiration. Her love for Hung was not one for grand declarations, but a profound, unwavering river running silently beneath the surface, steady and enduring. Her eyes met his, a soft smile conveying a message beyond words, my faith in you is absolute. With you, justice will always find its way. As the distant calls of roosters heralded the close of day, mingling with the comforting scent of sun-warmed straw from the fields, a palpable calm descended upon the village. Life began to weave its familiar patterns once more. Yet, etched within the collective memory, the theft on the rainy night would forever serve as a poignant testament, a quiet, enduring whisper of the inherent goodness that resides in the human heart, and the immutable truth that justice, though its path may often be circuitous, invariably reaches its destination. As the afternoon waned, the lingering clouds finally yielded, unveiling a sky of serene, radiant blue. The earth, still moistened by the recent downpour, breathed out the rich fragrance of dampened soil and fresh straw. Along the narrow, winding path that led to the fields, LyTuDiep and Hung walked together, their footsteps soft and synchronized, the yielding earth gently cushioning their shared journey. LyTuDiep turned her head toward him, a soft smile, as fleeting as a zephyr, touching her lips. You must feel a deep contentment, having brought justice for Mother Ha, don't you? Hung paused for a moment, his gaze distant, before his voice, thoughtful and low, filled the quiet. Contentment, yes, without a doubt. But it's also shadowed by a certain melancholy. It's always disheartening to see good intentions exploited. Yet, if everyone retreats into fear, hesitant to uphold what's right, who then will stand as a bulwark for justice? Hoai Ca stopped walking, her eyes holding his for a long, silent moment. In their depths, affection merged with an unwavering pride. All I truly need to know, she stated, her voice gentle yet firm, is that no matter what turns life takes, you will always be the one person I trust most implicitly. Hung turned, meeting her gaze with a tender smile. The evening wind, cool and clean in the wake of the rain, swept past them. The erica fronds along the roadside swayed in soft unison, their rustling a hushed whisper accompanying the twilight. From afar, the sonorous chime of temple bells echoed, deep and steady, weaving a profound serenity into the air. It mingled with the last golden hues that spilled across the still damp fields, bathing the entire landscape in a rare, tranquil luminescence. They continued their journey in comfortable silence, their only companions the gentle wind, the rhythmic fall of their footsteps, and the quiet, synchronized beat of their hearts. As another day drew to a close, simple and calm, an unspoken understanding settled between them, that sometimes a singular, seemingly small event is enough to test the very core of one's spirit, revealing the genuine character of individuals. It was a poignant truth that some, like Hung, needed no uniform or authority to choose the path of righteousness. And some loves, like theirs, transcended the need for grand vows, enduring instead on the bedrock of absolute trust. Hoai Ca's hair danced softly in the breeze as she smiled, while Hung's gaze stretched towards the distant horizon, where the fiery sunset slowly yielded to the approaching night. Along that rain-kissed path, the two of them walked on, speaking little, yet each step resonated with an inner peace and a quiet, steadfast faith in one another. Join us again tomorrow for the next installment. Hoai Ca and Hung's saga continues, with fresh challenges poised just beyond the breaking dawn.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì hiện tại thì mình đang làm video cho các phần tiếp theo. Mình đang cố gắng để hoàn thành những video để có thể đăng lên vào tối nay. Mình cũng không biết là có kịp hay không. Mình thì vẫn đang cố gắng để có thể hoàn thành sớm nhất có thể mọi người. Hiện tại thì mình đang đọc tên video. Mọi người ơi, mọi người hãy đón xem video của mình nhé. Mình đang không biết phải đặt tên video như thế nào đây.